thing. Did everybody sign in here? Okay, awesome. Got a good amount of people not here. Okay, anyways, I'm Jeanne Hopkins. I'm glad you guys are here. I know it's the end of the day and you're ready to check out, so I hope that I can give you guys lots of good stuff to use in your classroom. I am an early childhood development professor here, so I went to college for teaching just younger children. So what I hope to do is share with you some different things that I do and I've learned that you can use in turn in your class. So the first part of this presentation is some research, not a lot of it. Most of this is just stuff you can do, a whole lot of it. So I hope to give you guys lots of different methods, per se. I got to start with the backstory of this because it's kind of funny. When I started teaching, I didn't know about scantron. I use like all essay stuff. So I hand grade and it takes a while. And I was in the copy room and I saw this guy sitting at a table just feeding pieces of paper. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, grading? I'm like, what? That's how you grade? 5 minutes? That's awesome. And I thought that was so cool because I sit down and I read so much, or like my online classes, or actually everything is turned in for me on Blackboard. It just takes longer. But then one time I tried to do the multiple choice scantron thing and I did not like it. Like, it was awesome to grade. It was really awesome. But I didn't feel fulfilled, like I measured everything I wanted to from my students. One thing I tell my students all the time, because I give straight essay type questions, some fill in the blanks, and they'll say, oh, why can't you give us some multiple choice? And I tell them, when you're in the field, in a real life setting, for me it might be when a parent asks you, why does my child need to play with Play-Doh? What does that have to do with learning how to write? Are you going to have an A, B, C, or D option? No, you need to be able to articulate it by yourself to be able to justify what you do. And so that's the point with assessment, being able to prepare our students to kick them out and fly on their own and be able to articulate what we teach them and not just remember it, but be able to practice it. So some of these actually do take longer to grade, but to me it's worth it. So I'm going to share and you can use what you want. All right, so assessment is actually defined as defining learning expectations. I don't know about you guys, but when I plan my course, I do it based on those learning objectives or learning outcomes in I incur. That's how I break down each of the topics I teach, and then my test, or whatever it may be, is broken down like that. So it's not a surprise to my students when they look at their, say, midterm. It'll say learning objective this one. Here's some questions, learning objective this one. How many of you teach online? So you guys know exactly how that is. Everything has to flow. Hi.
Hey, how are you?
From the learning objectives. It's also identifying and creating relative learning experiences, not just assessing them because that's what they're supposed to learn, but is it relevant to what they do? Thank you. Also collecting evidence of learning. What did they learn? The purpose of this is to see what they know and how we can improve how we're teaching. Not just to do it because our dean says we have to give tests. All right. So moving on, this is how we kind of see scantron. Woo! Had to throw in the funny ones. But this is how I see students seeing those. And it kind of makes us like, oh, we like multiple choice. It's easy, right? But I'm not even kidding you guys. I've actually heard students in the elevator talking about, oh, this test is going to be easy. It's just multiple choice. I mean, that's what I said. Like parts of the GRE, I'm like, well, that's multiple choice. I don't know how to do that. So the problem with this is that a lot of times scores don't reflect what they actually know or don't know, or don't know how to do. So we've got to be intentional in creating the ways we assess our students. We've got to say, okay, like for instance in Topulite, if you've gone through the online training, or even if you haven't, it teaches you to design your course based on the learning outcomes in your syllabus, then design how you teach on it, and then assess that. So there should be no reason that students on test day are like, I've never heard of this. Right? Have you guys ever heard students say that?
Right.
Not about your classes, of course, but about other people. I students complain, this teacher gives us open book, but we've never even talked about this stuff, and that's not how it should be. We're on their side. All right, so the question that we have is, what's the goal? What do we want our students to know when they leave our classrooms? Because that's why we're here, right? We're trying to prepare them to go off and, succeed at a 4-year university, or, be a really successful registered nurse, or be a pre-K teacher, whatever it may be. That's our goal, is to prepare them. So our assessment should reflect exactly that. What do we want them to know? All right. So this is about probably the wordiest this thing gets, I promise. So assessment should be one, learning focus. We already talked about the learning outcomes. And you guys, if you haven't already done that, it's a lot of work, but it's so important to take those learning outcomes and, bold out certain terms in each of them, and then create your units that way, and then test that way. That way you're organized and the students can follow exactly what you're doing. I can vouch that it takes a lot of time and it's a pain in the ass, but it's good for students to be able to follow that whole cycle of learning. Okay, so it also needs to be meaningful. It needs to be integrated into what they're actually doing. For instance, my students have to do an observation assessment. Like my midterm and final, they're only worth 10% of everything. And they're like, why isn't that worth a lot? It's like a final. And I'm like, that only tests part of the learning objectives. But when you go out in the field and you can tell me what best practices you observed, that's different. When you create a lesson plan for a child and you can show me that you know how to teach certain curricular areas, that's showing me something that's relevant. That's what I want to see you do in the field. Okay, it's got to be faculty owned. I know we love those instructor manual questions, and those are cool, but sometimes we need to adjust what we're assessing our students based on what our objectives are, what are our outcomes, what do we want them to know. So a lot of times that means we have to tweak things to work for us. All right, and then specific. Most of our syllabi, have specific few outcomes, but some of them don't. How many of you guys have like more than 10 outcomes on some of your syllabi? Anybody? Yeah. Some of them need to be revamped. Like my intro class has like 13 of them, and that's no good. That needs to be changed. But it needs to be few and specific. The students, if you walk out, if you finish a class, you should be able to ask them, what did I teach you today? Oftentimes just the teacher in me, because I used to do this with my little kids, after, like when I come in my class, I will have on the board, here's what we're doing today. Here's what's due, here's what we're doing, here's the group project activity, here's your homework. And after I'm done, the last 5 minutes of class, I'll ask them to tell me, what did we learn? What were the 3 main points today? And if they can successfully tell you that, then you know you're doing what you're supposed to. But if they can't, you got to kind of rework on that a little bit. So it needs to be very, very specific outcomes. All right, are you guys familiar with Bloom's taxonomy? Yeah, okay, good, then we can skip this one. No, just kidding. Something else, I don't think I have it on here, but David Sousa wrote a book called How the Brain Learns. We have it in our library system, and it's phenomenal. And brain research shows that adults, when they learn, they only retain 5% of what they learn if it's lecture only. 5%. And in a 3-semester-hour class, do you know how long that is? Less than 4 minutes. Less than 4 minutes. So if students walk into a class of all lecture, they retain less than 4 minutes, typically. That kind of is like a punch to the gut, isn't it? That's insane. But it goes on, the more hands-on they are, the more they retain, and it goes all the way up to when they're discussing things, when they're applying and evaluating things, and even when they're teaching others, they can retain up to 90% of it. So the key is being active. All right, let's see. We are going to skip that part and that part because I already talked about it. All right, so let me tell you guys a bunch of stuff. You ready for me to blow your minds up with all kinds of activities? All right, let's see. We got 30 minutes. Okay, so the first one is entrance and exit tickets. This is a really great idea to kind of measure how class went. So entrance tickets, what I might do is say they read a chapter on If I was a biology teacher, cells. We just had a biology teacher on here. So I might put a question up here that says, you know, draw me a diagram of all the parts of a cell. Right, cells have a lot of parts. I'm looking at you because you have to take those classes. So it's just something, just one question, and have them do. And then we'll kind of discuss a little bit. I don't spend more than 5 or 6 minutes in it. Then after the class, I might say, okay, answer the same question. And I'll gauge, okay, did they get it, or do I need to spend more time on this tomorrow? And it doesn't take me that long, because I just look at all their paper and I'm done in 5 minutes. It gives me a rough idea. Usually they get it, but sometimes they just don't, you know, just like you guys know, every class is different. You can teach the same class in 2 semesters and they can be on 2 different levels. So that's a good way to gauge your class to assess informally. Another is a KWL. Has anybody ever heard of that? No? KWL stands for what do you know, what do you want to know, and what did you learn? I used to use that with my 4-year-olds, so surely it works on the college kids, most of the time. This is good for content areas. I do this actually as a first day homework assignment because I've found through the couple years I've been here that the bookstore is not super efficient at the beginning of the semester. So planning homework with the text on the first day just doesn't work. So what I'll do is assign what I call a KWL. We don't have any bookstore people in here, do we? I'll assign a KWL assignment for the whole class, for the whole like general class. So let's say I'm teaching a class on how to teach children math, science, and social studies. I'll say write a paragraph of what do you know about this already? Like it doesn't have to be correct, but what is your prior knowledge on it? And if then, you know, what do you want to know? And they'll be like, well, I don't even know what to know. That's your job to tell me, you know, if they get like that. I tell them to look at the table of contents. What are you interested about learning? And that helps me gauge how I'm going to plan stuff, you know, how long am I going to spend on certain things. And then instead of, for my first day paper, instead of what did you learn, I'll say, how can I help you learn? How do you best learn? You know, I get some crazy responses. You know, like, just be at your office when I need you. Like, yeah, I'll just camp out there. So it's a really good first day thing, but it's also good for individual units too. Another one is the pincher prompt, which you guys, I'm sure, have well done read already. But giving them just an image with no explanation and having them explain it, identify it, justify it, whatever it may be. It can be used in just about any discipline. Like what, can anybody think of an example you could use in your discipline to do that?
I have a moon picture I use, and it's like nightfall. It's actually an episode of The Simpsons. It's got a guy sitting in front of a window who's clearly getting ready for supper. And basically you have the moon as a little crescent, but the white side's up. You just put that on there. Students should be able to identify that that's not possible. You can't be having supper with that phase of the moon in that position. So
What do you teach?
Physics and astronomy.
Okay. I knew it was somewhere around science. Anybody else have an idea of how you could use that?
That's good.
You have an idea, right?
Do I have an idea?
Yeah.
I haven't had an idea in years.
What do you teach? I'm on one thing. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I'm culinary, and we of course it's all about pictures of food.
Yeah.
So
I know. I love
to
to hear.
identify, food, different ingredients and things like that.
Yeah, that's perfect. Absolutely. Sometimes I'll post a picture of a teacher working with a young child and have students explain what best practices they see or what best practices they don't see. So they have to identify things like that. But the picture thing is short, simple, and sweet. These are things that don't take up a lot of time in your class because, frankly, this is just me. I don't think we have long enough nearly to teach all the stuff they need us to teach, you know. Another one is empty outlines. A lot of times, our textbooks will have the PowerPoints with them. I don't particularly use those like as a PowerPoint, but what I will do is I'll open it in outline format. You guys familiar with that? You know how to do that? It's so cool. Check this out. You can go to print. Or wait, no, there's a way to view it like that. Hold on. View. Where's the outline? get an outline. So what I'll do with that is I'll copy and paste this, and I'll take out key terms, print it, and give it to my students, and they have to fill in the key terms. So they have to do.
Oh, that's great.
It's pretty smart, huh? I didn't think of that. I didn't, but somebody taught me that, and it's pretty neat. Or you can just, my students like to print these as study guides, like all of the PowerPoints I do have. Let me get it back to normal. All the PowerPoints I do have, I load onto my Blackboard show, even my face-to-face, just because when I'm talking, I don't want them, you guys know how that is. You don't want to just see this the whole time, right? You want them to listen to you and see the models you're drawing and the things that you're doing. Yes, sir?
Something else you can do is use the note-taking sheets
What do you mean?
for PowerPoint.
What are you talking about? I
Go
don't know.
back to where you were there before you showed.
Oh, yeah, I do know. Yep, I know what you're
Yeah,
talking
and
about.
if you go to print,
Yep,
print,
and then if
and
you,
then tell
Yeah.
it 3 slides to the page.
yep, that's what you're talking about?
And, yeah, and what that does is it gives them all the whole slide, and it's perfectly legible, unless you're really got very, very bad vision. I'm right, blind, I can. Okay, you got the lines, so they can put their personalization there with it,
Absolutely.
but have the whole thing right there. And you don't want to print it, you want to make sure you choose, pure black and white, because otherwise, when you print the thing out, it's going to cost a gazillion dollars for all the color ink and so, because a lot of the slides will have a background, color
Yeah.
on top of it. You just do it in black and white, and all they got to do is punch that, stick it in a notebook, and and then they've got the outline, or the outline is there if they want it, but that tends to remind them of what it was you were talking about,
Yeah.
and so on and so forth, so.
And it gives them all the room to draw too.
I'm gonna try that this coming semester. I'm gonna run with and without, and see what happens.
Do you print them for your students, or do you have them?
Well, that's one of the questions that I have in my own head. Will they do it if I tell them to? I mean,
I
I
do.
have students who won't come to class because I tell them to, so I don't know. I mean, I tell them to come to class, so they don't.
I do that for my math class. I tell them that I have it up on, I'm using on the Elmo,
Mhm.
and it's fill in the blank, and they have to print it before they come to class.
Mhm.
And if they don't print it, they're like writing like fiends because.
That's awesome. What is Elmo?
So-
Is that what you said, Elmo?
The display that shows whatever your notebook is,
Okay, gotcha.
And I learned that from way back in the day, education thing, something, it's basically document humor.
Oh, okay. And so your students do print them out?
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, it saves them a lot of time taking notes, and they would rather do that than shake their hands and write that fast.
Yeah.
So they like.
I give my
The other-
students the option.
And I
I'll-
hate when they're duplicating, you give them like reads and, because I was doing it before, it's too time consuming, so I said.
Yeah.
I
The other
need
thing you can do with that
print it yourself.
is, we've all had students who walk in and they're gonna write down every damn word that's on that slide.
Yeah.
If you had
And then say,
8
hold on,
point
I'm
type.
not done.
Yeah, and I tell them right up front, don't do that, it's a waste of time, you're not gonna remember all those words. Here's how to do it, so on and so forth. And of course, the first day, somebody says, wait a minute, I'm not done copying it. Too bad.
Yeah, we
Because
don't
you only
want
have to
that.
do it once. They go, oh my God.
Yeah, I give mine the option because actually a lot of my students will tell me I learn better when I write it. So
Horse hockey.
I say if you can write it quick, go for it. But most of mine are like yours; they will print it
Yeah,
because
because
I'm
they have no filter as far as what's important and what isn't.
Mhm.
So consequently, they write down the thes and the ands and all that stuff.
Yeah.
If you put it on Blackboard, your PowerPoint, it's there in case you have an emergency, things like, because you can get it in the
Uh-huh.
classroom. But then you can just tell the student, hey, you know what, if I'm going too fast, you can watch this as many times as you want.
Yeah, I do.
You can
But
just-
the problem is,
Then you don't have to worry
there's
about
too
this
much
being
effort
set.
expended writing and not enough thinking.
Listening, yeah.
But what about doing the flipped classroom? What do you think about that?
I do it sometimes, not every day, of course, because it's a lot of work. And you always, at least anyways, you'll always have students that'll say, I signed up for a face-to-face course, I don't do online.
It's not online, it's flipped classroom.
Flipped classroom.
The flipped classroom where you give them everything ahead of time. It's not online. I still-
Oh, well, the way I do it is online, that's why they say, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
This is where it kind of cut down on some of the stuff we're talking about, but it's like they're giving everything on Blackboard. It's their responsibility to read the chapters, look at their PowerPoints, and then when we come into class, I just start talking about it. We have discussions, we apply it to real life, what's going on, and then I have activities and scenarios and things for them to do. And I've been doing this now this will be my third semester doing it, and it's really well, my scores have gone up, they're doing
Really?
this on their end, yeah.
You've got hard stuff.
I do the same thing in one of my classes, everything is online. On Blackboard, my PowerPoints, because I told them, I'm not gonna stand up here and lecture to you from a PowerPoint. You read the chapter, read the text, read the PowerPoint, and I have a sheet called discussion notes with 4 points for the bullets that they have to have filled out, and I come in, I write the 4 points on the board, I say, okay, let's have a discussion. Let's talk
That's
about
awesome.
this region today.
Yeah.
My grades for American Regional last semester were the highest I've ever had.
That's awesome.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah, I think they respond a lot better than instead of just reading
Just
stuff.
reading to them,
Yeah,
yeah.
like my PowerPoints aren't usually words for me. Mine are like videos and key term. Yeah, it's
Well, you're
mostly
supposed to speak
visuals.
to the PowerPoint, you're not supposed to quote. from the
Exactly.
PowerPoint.
Right.
But you guys know just as well as I do, so many people, they use those textbook ones and they just, a lot of people read right off of it, so.
And the challenge we have at Norfolk campus is that our students often don't have printers at home. They can't print at the library. So
Really?
we have poverty, yeah, that's a big issue at the Norfolk campus. We have to take in consideration their economic status. And I've had students that come up and say, Mr. Costa, I don't have access to a computer at home. So they either gotta go to the public library, they still can't print off there, or they're limited to how much they can print.
100 pages.
It's 100 pages they get there too, right?
Yeah, and sometimes as being new students, you know, do they print off? I mean, I could have the 2 chapters, 40 pages of PowerPoints,
Yeah,
but that's too much to ask them to print off. And
yeah.
so I spend a lot of time, right now, I'm pretty much going retro, 19th century. I'm opening myself, and I'm lucky I'm in a position where I can meet with them, go and check out a classroom, and have extra help sessions,
That's great,
just to put in the time. But not everybody can do that,
yeah.
especially adjuncts, because as I remind my students, many of their adjuncts are working, they have regular jobs.
Yeah. Would you be able to print the PowerPoints for them?
Yes, luckily at Norfolk, what we do have is, but you gotta get it in within 48 hours, which I sometimes don't know where I wanna go exactly, but,
Yeah.
because it varies from class to class.
Yeah,
But, yeah, if I get it in, I can print them off and have it printed and go pick them up.
like both
And everything's
sides.
printed out, distributed. You have to do that with your students that come up to you with special needs often. I've had a number of students have visual issues.
Oh, really?
So I have to, you have to really, they can't do online anyway. It's hard for them to visualize it, so you have to put it in a large font.
Yeah, yeah. The online classes have, when they go through informal review, they have to be set up for students with disabilities to where the colors are contrasted, everything is labeled, like if you have pictures and stuff, it's gotta be labeled so they can deal with it too.
But that's one of the challenges. I mean, yeah, we can print it out, but that's something you gotta calculate, and you gotta give yourself more time. 'Cause
Yeah.
it takes them 48 hours to print off. They do a great job, they print them off for you, but they need 48 hours.
So you guys don't have like a copier in the division office you can use or anything?
And we can't use every, well,
Yeah,
we're limited to the amount of copies we can do on our
Oh.
4 copier.
Are you in Norfolk too?
Yeah, Norfolk too.
And that's why they want us to use the printing center. The
Yeah.
printing center, I can get as many of whatever I need, just gives them 48 hours. They do a very good job about doing
Yes.
this within 48 hours.
The other thing you can do with students with disabilities, if they're, assuming that they've registered with disability services,
Yeah.
they will provide you anything you want. I mean, literally anything you
Yeah,
want
but we,
to do that, and are thrilled to have the opportunity to, or at least that's the way it is out here at the beach. I don't know about the individuals either, but they do a great job. And they'll print stuff. I've had to literally print PowerPoints for people where the entire page was less than one whole slide and things like that. We have interpreters here, sign language interpreters, and the whole 9 yards, and they really do a great job. I had one class, I had 3 deaf students in it.
Oh, wow.
And it was, and they loved it. They got all 3 of them together, and the woman who was the interpreter was standing just off to the side, so she wasn't bothering anybody else, but she was interpreting, and all 3 of them did very, very well in the course. And in fact, it was right in this room. I used to live across the hallway over there until I got in a fight.
I'm not the only
with
person
Jimmy.
that says live.
Well, I've spent enough time up here.
Yeah.
I basically live here.
Awesome. Okay, well, aside from the PowerPoint, I'm gonna give you guys a bunch of other ones, and I'm gonna do it really quickly because you guys are gone in like 17 minutes. All right, so next one is muddiest and clearest point. That is just like the visual says. So maybe after class you ask them to draw or write on a piece of paper, what was the muddiest point of my lecture today? What was the part that you really didn't understand? And what was the clearest part? What did you get? That's a great informal assessment to know where they are with the content you taught. Another one is the objective check, and that's kind of like the verbal one I was just saying, where I ask them at the end of the class, what did I teach you today? You can write it down, or have them write it down. What were the 3 main points I talked about today? And that's a good informal assessment to see if they actually caught on to the objectives you were teaching. It's actually really good to help us evaluate ourselves too. All right, some more informal ones are applications or major. So this is really good. Students enjoy this because they see, why does this matter what you taught me? I know I can remember back to being in school and I used to wonder, why does it ever matter if I learn Excel? Because I'm never going to use it. You know, I mean, I use it now, but sorry, ITE people. But it makes them actually sit down and think a little deeper than they normally do. And that's something that matters to us when they leave, right? How they're going to use what we teach them in the real world. So I have them write down, how is this relevant? Another one is categorizing. For those of you guys that have content areas that have lots of terms and a lot of people, things they need to remember, like I'm sure Cosmo guy over here, you've got a lot of terms. Right?
I got my another grass back.
Cosmo guy. I know for me, we don't have a whole lot of terms, but we have a lot of people. You know, the things that our students really struggle trying to keep, you know, together, a categorizing grid is just a basic access, and they have to categorize stuff. So like for me, it might be categorizing theorists into who's a cognitive theorist, who's a social theorist, who's a psychological theorist, and so forth. And I don't know what that would look like for each discipline, but we all have things we need to help them organize in their brains. Another one, my students love this. You can assess them by having them do a TV commercial. And they love doing this in class because they all have iPhones or smartphones or something kind of phones with a camera on it. Not all of them, but I'll get them into small groups of 2 or 3 people, give them a topic and say, create a TV commercial that advertises this content area you're trying to teach, or act out whatever this is. Somebody in the last class gave an awesome, no, it wasn't that. One example, it was biology related. I know this sounds silly, but when I was in middle school, I remember we had to learn about cells and reproduction and the parts of a cell and everything. So we all had to act out different parts of cells and record it. And I still remember, even though that was a way long time ago, chasing somebody around pretending to be white blood cells, you know? Like chasing somebody around. And 7th grade was quite a while for me. But, you know, you remember stuff you're a part of. So being able to record stuff like that is really fun. Another one is role reversal, where the teacher asks the questions about the content to the students. So the students have to become experts in that content area. So I don't just throw them in to do it. I'll get them in groups and I'll chunk my material for them and say, you do this part, and so forth. And then I'll kind of bounce around the room and kind of help them digest the stuff and understand it. But then we all ask questions to them and they have to understand it. The cool thing about these is if you're grading it, it's really easy because you can do it as you're sitting there. And I like that because let's face it, who likes grading, right? Nobody likes it, right? No? Yeah, no, we don't like it. We didn't sign up for that part. All right. Social media. I'm not so much of a Twitter person, but I am a Facebook person. I have a Facebook, it's Ms. Hopkins at TCC, I use a lot. And my students utilize that as well, but it might be something that I'll say, okay, for homework, I want you to find me an article that shows developmentally appropriate practice for infants and toddlers. And so then they go home and they find it, and it's not just boring, oh, I'm finding an article, it's they're sharing it on Facebook, and then they read it, and then we talk about it in class, things like that. They like it because they're engaged, and let's face it, their students are checking their Facebook all the time. And so they get notifications, somebody else posted, you can make groups, you can, all kinds of stuff. I also use mine for just all different purposes, like I'll record videos of my students doing demonstrations, and then I'll put it on Facebook, and then they share it with their friends, and they're like, oh my gosh, that's such a fun program, and then what? My enrollment's going up. So, and we all need that right now, don't we? So Facebook is a good tool they use because it relates to our students. Another one, Twitter, which I'm speaking kind of vicariously because I don't personally use it that much, but Twitter is good because you can use simple hashtags to define things. And so what a lot of people do is what's called Twitter wars. Has anybody ever heard of that? Where you might have a controversial topic. Say, let's see, I'm thinking of, let's say I'm a sociology teacher and I say, all right, let's talk about legalization of marijuana. Everybody's going to get in small groups and they have to collaborate. So everybody's going to have different opinions, and then they come up with a hashtag. I remember we did this in a faculty development day, and all the administration of criminal justice guys got together and they're like, hell yeah, America. It was weird. But it's something that students can connect with. It's something they have to collaborate with, which, let's face it, our students don't get enough practice with that. How many of you know adults that don't know how to play nice? Right? We all know
How to
them.
play what?
No, don't know how to play nice.
Oh,
Yeah, see? You know 'em. So that's something else we need to be teaching our students, collaboration. All right. Okay, moving on. So from social media, we have e-media. Love this. My students love, love, love it. We use YouTube a lot. So what my students do in class sometimes is we do demonstrations. And I know that doesn't work for every single discipline, but I have them show me what they taught. So for instance, if I'm teaching them effective ways to read to young children, I'm going to have them sit on the ground and read a book to the class. And then I put it on YouTube so they can watch themselves and reflect. So I'll show you a little bit real quick, just so you have an idea. I actually have a whole YouTube channel, and I have playlists for each of my class so they can go back and check it. But these are some of my students.
Do you have to get waivers?
Yeah, we have to get permission for that.
Yeah, I'll tell you about them.
Pretty sure some of my kids are witness protection.
So what I do, it's really, really simple and it's not hard. I just created my own little release form that says, it's one blanket list that says I authorize photo and video to be used for purposes for Tidewater Community College. This could include, but is not limited to, social media, marketing,
College
and
has
so
a
forth.
form.
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, they have one.
Nope, didn't know that.
I would use it if I don't need it.
Well, I went through my deed.
CYO.
Yeah, I went through my deed and she said that was okay. Because then I just copy and paste my SIS list on there and then they sign next to it. But yeah, I'll have to check that out.
you should see what I have to go through just to take the students 3 blocks from where we teach at TCC in history to the MacArthur Memorial.
Are you serious?
I'm serious, it's already back.
Wow. I knew I knew there's a form you have to do to take them off campus. I've done that before. I did not know we had a form though. Because I
In their
went.
defense, college students aren't allowed to just walk around after class and stuff.
I'm shocked considering the number of bars we have on Granby Street, which makes Norfolk very rewarding. I'm trying to push VAC.
I know, just go get a
to
drink
go to
right after
Norfolk,
class.
you know?
Classes go way more smoothly.
We have bars.
So anyways, yes, you do have to
Now
get a
we've been walking
release.
distance.
And I've done that, not apparently the official way, but I have to talk to you about that one. Anyways, YouTube is a good one to use. Another one is Video Ant. Has anybody ever heard of Video Ant? No? Video Ant is a tool. It's a free tool. You can Google it. But basically what you can do is you can give them a video, short video clip, whatever you want them to watch, and then they can go in and annotate it, and then email it to you. That's really good. Sometimes I create my own videos. Like for instance, in my face-to-face class, I might do a video tour of a website where I go through the website and show my students each piece. But on my online class, I can't do that. So I'll screenshot, do a screencasting, which by the way, there's a really good screencasting. It's called Screencast-O-Matic. You can download it on your work computer without getting admin. And you can record your screen and voice for up to 15 minutes. So you can create your own video and then have them annotated. So normally if I would show this video or if I would show this website to my students in my class, I'd be asking them questions, of course. What could you use this for? Why do you think this is helpful? So the video ant is really good because they can annotate it anytime and send it to you. And that's a really good way to see, did they understand the material of the video? And again, it's free. All right, any questions so far? And this, while we're on electronic stuff, some people in the last session didn't know this. Do you guys know about the Instructional and Technology Fund? Anybody ever heard of that? Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you didn't know about it, you can order technology things. For example, I've ordered a digital camera. I've ordered a headset, with the talkie thing on it, earphones. And I've ordered a webcam for my online teaching. You can order it for free, and it's not a loaner, it's yours. College yours, but you can order it for free very easily. If you go to the TCC webpage, type in Technology Fund, and what will come up is this, and then you click, just do Technology Fund, you click Instructional and Technology Fund request form. It's a, huh?
I think it's hardware only, no software.
You can get software too. It's different prices. Like you can go up to $500 for software and $300 for hardware. But it's just a short form, and it's really no questions asked. I haven't had any questions. You just say, here's what I need it for. Somebody emails you and says, it's ordered, it'll be in your mailbox soon. So if you ever need teaching stuff, that's there, and it's very easy to get. All right, where are we at? I got 5 minutes.
QuickTime does that. If you're an Apple user, QuickTime does that for free, the screen capture. And then iMovie or I'll be the one.
Oh, really?
Make it MPEG or
Is that only for Apple devices?
I've heard that you can get QuickTime for non-Apple devices, but I've never seen it, so I just know I've been an Apple user.
Okay.
And it's free, so it's kind
Yeah,
of nice.
we all love free, right? It's good stuff. There was a workshop today about Apple apps. Did you guys, anybody go to that?
Get that spring, they have it this spring.
Yeah. It's good stuff, and now the classrooms are all getting these slowly, which it's an Apple TV and it hooks up to iDevices. It's really neat. What?
Yeah, we use our board.
Yeah, we're getting this. This sucks if you're a math teacher. We're having to fight this.
Board
This
space.
is all new.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
This is not a good thing for math classrooms.
So, well, you guys still have like the whiteboard and stuff, right?
Yeah, do you know
Yeah,
how
but
much
they
math
cover
you
up
do on
chunks
yours?
of it.
Oh, no, I haven't been in math in a long time.
Oh,
We're
wow,
gonna
that's
have
not
like
enough
6 or
space.
8 boards.
If you write and erase and write and erase and write and erase, and students are butt cussing you because you're like, wait, I didn't get that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I can imagine that not being good for you. Maybe you guys will be some of the last ones. All right. Some final ones is simulation. So giving them real life scenarios to work through. That doesn't always have to be written down in paper, but just in class group activities. Another one, ambiguity. That I probably said wrong. But that is basically where you give them a false situation, which of course could look different in everybody's discipline, but you give them something that's wrong, and then you have them break it apart, tell you what's right and why. That's really good because they have to dig deep in those higher order thinking skills and really show you they know what they're doing. And that can be done written on a test or actually acted out. All right. In your own words, I like this one. This is just basically asking students to give you a summary of what you taught, but in your own words. A lot of times when you ask them, question in class, they look down to their book or their notes, and you're like, no. I don't want you to tell me what the textbook says. I want you to be able to explain it to somebody. In my discipline, what that looks like is I tell my students, everything you do, you need to be able to articulate to the parents of the children you teach. And they don't want to know fancy words like cognitive, blah, 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 blah. They want to understand. So telling students to write things in their own words and spit them back out is a good way to assess. All right. Last things. I share the one about the homework because a lot of people have had questions about it. Somebody asked me once, how do you get your students to do homework? I give them homework for every unit, every chapter they read. And the question's easy. Give them a grade for it. And the way I grade it is simple. If you do it, you get 100. If you don't, you get a 0. And it's all averaged together, and it's a significant part of their grade, 10 to 15%. That way, they don't show up expecting me to stuff it down their throat. You guys ever get that? Where they come to class and they just want you to do all the teaching, but they don't read, so they're not prepared at all to even know what you're doing. So that is what I do. I give them, and it's in my course outline, it tells them, here's your homework for every single time, and it's all averaged together, 0, 100. That way it's easy for me to grade too. And I've never really had a situation where a student just put something on paper, just to get the grade. They actually do it. And that's helpful because they're meeting you halfway and you're holding them accountable for doing what they need to do. Another one, I give study guides, and I'm going to show you why. My tests are not multiple choice at all. My tests take a long time to grade. I'll show you roughly. Here's one. Here we go. The ears are ears are all. Yeah, so mine, what I'll do sometimes is for each unit, I'll have the objective on there, and then I'll give them a choice, answer this one or that one. Like, I'll give them several that are really important things for them to know, but they get to pick from it. So they're all open-ended. They do take a long time to grade. But what I do is I give them the test as a study guide. I give them the entire test as a study guide, so there's no surprises. And that way they're not just studying random stuff in a textbook. They're studying what I want them to know. And a lot of people are like, why do you do that? What if they cheat? My questions aren't cheatable. It's not like you can find the answer in the book. It's you have to understand the stuff in the book and be able to apply it to give it. And so it's really cool because students, of course, they hate me when they see it. They really hate me. But then when I give them their grade, they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did it. And they walk out of my classroom knowing the actual stuff and how to apply it, and not just I can pick the term from 4 different solutions. So do I have a solution for the grading issue? No. If that's what you came for, I'm really sorry to let you down. But I hope that you got some stuff that you can use. And that, look at that, it's time to go. So that's all I have, guys. Thank you for coming. And